Now, I'm not going to lie to any of you and make you fathom how much Attack on Titan meant to us in terms of its storytelling and message. Not only was it personally touching and profound to me, I used to rewatch episodes, reread chapters, and listen to its soundtrack often, even at the gym for motivation, because let's be honest, everything about this show slapped. The music slapped, the animation slapped, the characters slapped, the message slapped, but then came the final chapter, and now the extra pages. The additional pages that are canon for Attack on Titan chapter 139 are now out. They will be featured in the volume release. Things are not looking too great. We talked about chapter 139 and its problems, where these new pages 100% confirm everything we stated and validate our points and opinion. You must watch that video in completion to be on the same page as everyone in our community. In that video, I told you I'm just like you. We all went through the 5 stages of grief because we were hurt. When I love something to such a degree, when it's 11 out of 10 and viewed as a masterpiece in my eyes, if it does something completely illogical, it's painful and you want to fix it, or you're extra critical about it. For example, an analogy for this would be your child. You love your child more than life itself. You would sacrifice yourself for them. Yet if your child made a stupid mistake, you would reprimand them from doing it again, because you want the best and better life for your child to reach their maximum potential. We even get asked all the time, why are you so critical of Boruto, for example? Well, that's because for me and Yusuf, Naruto was a 10 out of 10, something that we watched since we were 13 years old in our youth, an age where we were much more impressionable, and even till this day, we still relate to Naruto's life since we are now 28. We grew up with Naruto and are on a path of life similar to his with a family. Now, my point is, nostalgia and subjective experiences of media cannot be instilled into others. Many of us followed Attack on Titan for 10 years and emotionally invested into the show, some of us even financially supporting it by buying merch, volumes and more. This, in some weird way, garners a demand that we should at least receive a semi-decent ending that didn't retcon what we fell in love with in the first place. I know there's a narrative out there that Attack on Titan fans don't appreciate Isayama and we are the problem, and that's why he ruined the ending even further. But this needs to be shut down. The ones that loved Attack on Titan the most are the ones that are actually upset, because it's like a stock, right? They are the ones that bought the most stock, invested the most time and money, and they feel like they lost it all at the very end. With these new pages, Isayama in one way or another accomplished his goal of making a majority of the Attack on Titan fan base hurt, and by adding these extra pages to chapter 139, it hasn't helped all that much. At the end of the day, we still respect Isayama and we still think he made a great journey. I still love this man and we still want the best for him, and we wish nothing but good things for his future, and I wish Isayama happiness and health for the future. We don't want anyone to believe that we don't support Isayama anymore and we do not like him or Attack on Titan just because we gave an opinion regarding the last chapter. I'm gonna shut down that narrative too right now. We truly respect and care for Isayama for what he created and the hard work he put in, and I think anyone that enjoyed his story should at least give him well wishes for his future. Now, as I mentioned in the previous 1 hour long video, just look at how deeply the world is burning today. All of us resonated with Attack on Titan and its original message because it was grounded in reality and provided inspiration for everyone to make a difference and strive for the better in not only yourself but the world that surrounds you. It was poetic and still runs true today. Just look at Israel and Palestine's situation, where our Muslim brothers and sisters are suffering through oppression just for their race and religion, where their lands are being stolen just because of who they are, and the people we have in power are doing nothing about it because it suits their regime of corruption and propaganda. When we read Attack on Titan, witnessing the interaction of Ramsey and Halil, I clearly saw Turkish, Asian and Middle Eastern culture. These oppressed children showed Eren their ways of displaying love to him in return of Eren saving their life. I was like, wow, this is so profound. Isayama is actually representing the different culture and circumstances of all of us, where any one of us can be a victim of our circumstance. He's showing how unity and love can bring us all together if we all just understood the bigger picture. This moment was so impactful to Eren that he started to cry and break down in tears in front of them, stating that he is sorry for what his future self will do, being powerless to control it. Eren indeed saw that these people were not devils. There were no devils, just propaganda and division within humanity for no justified reason, similar to what's happening to Palestine. It's ridiculous to witness this in real life as soon as Attack on Titan ended, that its message and themes were perpetuated immediately in Palestine, and they are suffering so badly, losing the lands they originally owned just because of who they are and the lack of power they possess to defend themselves. Even the comparison of the people in Gaza being in open-air prison, blockaded to the rest of the world, no true citizenship, no real access to freedom of food, water and electricity, and the use of walls has some parallel to the people of Eldia at the start of the series. Obviously not like for like, but oppression comes in many forms. This was another reason why I think people liked AOT and resonated with it so much. This was definitely a reason why I loved AOT more, because I was like, whoa, it's relatable, man. I'm just saying, anyway, free Palestine, free Gaza, long live Palestine. And fuck YouTube if they demonetize us just for mentioning that. But going back to the point, let's break down what Isayama tried to do with these extra panels. So to give a fair take, we are going to try to understand the final pages with a non-biased view, going over some possibility of what Isayama might have been trying to tell the readers. With that in mind, having to do this showcases that Isayama, either by choice or not, left this final chapter cryptic and not decisively clear. He has already admitted that his editor made him change the ending and the original was scrapped. Many great story writers do this. However, the process of such writing should not take anything away from the story or retcon the original intention that you had. For example, take a look at George R.R. Martin, the writer of Game of Thrones, where he stated that fan theories and other people should not affect your core story. However, we all know in shonen manga, profits seem to reign supreme over anything else.
Of course, some, I have certain things that I'm laying clues for that there'll be revelations later on. Some people had put together those clues even as early as 1998 and are adding things together. You really have two choices there. You can ignore it and proceed with your plan, or you can get all panicky and say, oh my God, they figured it out. I can't let that be. I'll have to change it. I'll have to go in a different direction. And I think some writers do that, and I think that's always a mistake.
The end result of having different conclusions based on audience interpretation shouldn't contradict the overall theme and direction of the plot, whereas Isayama's ending falls face first into this problem. Either to keep things a mystery and to go above expectations, or to play it safe, Isayama sacrificed everything. One narrative out there is that Isayama couldn't connect everything, and there was too much expectations for him to make all the themes and symbolism make sense in the finale. But we would argue the contrary. In fact, we think the ending was the easiest chapter to execute in the entire manga. This is because all the hard work was already done. Every single plot device had already been perfectly written that connected with one another. Even minor subplots such as Historia's pregnancy proving Zeke's euthanization plan wrong was mapped out and had major symbolism of how Eren was involved in one way or another for a greater scheme. An analogy to explain my point would be seeing someone and witnessing them doing all the research and engineering of creating a rocket, working tirelessly doing the mathematics to make it work. But when it came to launch day, Isayama had the big red button to launch the rocket to achieve its goal, however decided not to press and scrapped it last minute, leaving all the fans baffled on what we just witnessed. The creator of Attack on Titan is doing a huge interview in June, however parts of it have been leaked. Isayama's original design of chapter 139 had 5 grids and was divided into very detailed sections. It was supposed to show 3 people walking towards a tree on the hillside. However, after discussing with the editor, Isayama changed the draft. The closer to the final chapter, the harder Isayama would try searching for reviews and comments online. Now this is something a author should never do, just like George R.R. Martin pointed out. Isayama then addressed one of the points the community had. For example, Armin might seem to be approving of the massacre. Isayama thinks it is due to his lack of writing. Eren's actions are the worst of the worst, and Armin does not approve of them. Judging from chapter 139, Armin is the beneficiary of the massacre. Although Armin can't understand this final farewell with Eren, he still wants to use the sentence "thank you for being a murderer" to show that he is an accomplice of Eren as a way of getting closer to him. Now again, this was poor wording choice, at least Isayama is admitting it, and we can respect a man that can admit the mistakes he had, because none of us are perfect, right? I actually loved it that he admitted his mistakes. Now in the interview, Isayama stated that the last part of the manga is a difficult theme beyond his ability. Isayama feels that he is not able to fully express these themes within the manga, so he regrets parts of it. Isayama's favorite chapter is 71, called Bystander, which is quite interesting since this is the chapter where Kenny states that all humans are a slave to something. He could be signaling that Eren was a slave to the concept of freedom, as I stated in our hour-long analysis, or on the contrary, maybe Isayama could be expressing himself, stating that he is a slave to his own work and the industry controlling him to change the story, which he himself admitted they did. There is much more factual evidence that the Attack on Titan story was changed after chapter 134. For example, there was a lot of promotion regarding the finale. Fans have pointed out that in many interviews and promotion, Isayama spoke to Eren's voice actor in private and suggested that he was going to voice another Tatakage scene in the final chapter. But as we all know, this never actually happened at all. There is also the fact that there was an exhibition held in 2019 that told fans it contained audio of what was originally intended for the final chapter, and it clearly sounds like the rumbling where Armin screams for Eren to stop. But this audio was instead used for chapter 134. Let's show the clip. Anyways, with that, I'm passing on the video to Yusuf as he will break down our analysis for the new panels and what it all means and how there may be a sequel.
Okay Adil, but let's actually get into these extra panels which were revealed, starting with the insertion of Mikasa's final interaction with Ymir during the de-escalation of the Mali soldiers by Armin. Mikasa confirms that Ymir pretty much used her as an avatar of some sort. She viewed the world through Mikasa's eyes. This goes back to the message of Ymir trying to reenact her love story with a different ending. Mikasa was madly in love with Eren, which mentally enslaved her. She would have even given her own life for him many times over, just like Ymir did with King Fritz. However, after he had become a monster, taking the life of millions, and after the rumbling, Mikasa, understanding his reasonings, was enough for her to move past her enslavement and frailty to take Eren's life. Regardless of the true reasons behind her actions, Mikasa letting go of Eren and losing him gave Ymir freedom of her own chains of mental enslavement due to her illogical love. Now it seems that Isayama was trying to make things a bit more clear with Mikasa's interaction with Ymir, as when she says, "I think your love was that of a long nightmare. The past lives will never return, but thanks to the lives you gave birth to here, I now stand. Rest in peace, Ymir." So let's break this statement down. It seems as though Mikasa is the only one who understands Ymir, whilst Eren and even Zeke had to make some speculations. Again, we already explained all the plot holes and retcon of the story in our previous video, so if you truly want to know why your brain is saying right about now, "Wait, this doesn't make sense," you must go and watch it. But Mikasa with this statement acknowledges that Ymir's love for King Fritz and her desire to be with his children binded her to an extremely long nightmare. Now it's important to understand when the use of this description is used, we can look at it as if the realm of the path and the reality that followed was akin to a dream. Likewise, any dream is akin to reality. This once again goes back to the idea that Mikasa spent her lifetime with Eren in this realm. Whether it was a dream or not, it was a reality that she and Eren lived. In Ymir's case, her reality is filled with regret for the choice she made due to her love for King Fritz. We can see this regret illustrated, showcasing a possibility of Ymir letting King Fritz die when he was about to be assassinated. She, like Mikasa, could have let go of her love for him, hence letting go of her enslavement. She then would have been happy with her daughters. This reality was her dream. However, due to the wrong choice, she had to live in a nightmare, which Mikasa referred to earlier. This nightmare only ended after Mikasa and Eren enacted a similar situation where Eren representing King Fritz and Mikasa was Ymir. Now obviously this doesn't make much sense since Eren's ideals and goals was completely opposite of the king. However, the story tries to sell that idea anyways. Regardless, Mikasa's goodbye to Ymir, thanking her for giving birth and starting her progeny, eventually giving her life, is Mikasa's way of telling us that she still appreciates living and experiencing the love she did. After the Ymir goodbye scene, we can conclude that she and her spirit is finally set free to the afterlife or whatever realm there is in the Attack on Titan universe. Like, this is never really explained. On top of that, we don't really know what happened to the worm and if it even died. So does that mean that it's somewhere in the world? Everything is literally left to open-ended questions. For example, did Eren reincarnate as a bird or did he move on to the next life with Ymir?
I don't know.
Next, we then get a couple of pages of time-lapse showing the changes around the world, in particular Paradise, with the viewpoint of Eren's grave beside the tree his head was buried next to. The first time-lapse showed Mikasa with her husband and child. If you guys take a look at these panels and Jean's timeskip design, it's likely he is her husband. Yes, the Mikasa x Eren shippers won't like this ending anymore since this ship has completely sunk. However, this does go full circle to Jean's wish, which he stated in chapter 127 that he has a dream of having a wife and 2 kids. But Jean even stated that I've earned the right to live a happy life along with my wife and kids and even my grandkid. He dreams of prime real estate and drinks the finest liquor. It seems his dream has come true, which Eren helped allow for. Though no matter who her husband is, this shows Mikasa eventually did move on with her life but didn't forget about Eren, as even with this man she comes to visit Eren's grave. Now we also get another shot with time gone by showing Mikasa as an old grandmother visiting Eren's grave with her family. Now what's actually important is to note the scenery around this interaction, which shows Paradise and the world went through an industrial boom. Just have a look, there are cars and tall buildings everywhere. We can speculate from this that Armin and the gang managed to avoid war during their lifetime and lived long lives just like Mikasa did, which goes back to the only one of the goals that Eren seemed to have accomplished. He did after all kill 80% of the world to give his friends that he knew for a couple of years the best life ever, and even that piece is short-lived. We then see Granny Mikasa leave a flower for Eren just before she herself finally gets buried. There is no room left for imagination or interpretation for this. We clearly see the cast we fell in love with are all dead as time passes. At least the original chapter 139 kept things open-ended for fans to believe in their own headcanon. The next time skip showcases many years must have gone by, probably even another 100 to 1000 years, as Eren's gravestone is no longer there and the hole where it stood has extended upwards, forming a tiny passage into the tree. This is the first instance of the foreshadowing and callback to the tree that Ymir fell into, which kick-started everything. It's clear that history is repeating itself, and just how Ymir became a myth and written in books, Eren and the Rumbling has too. However, with that, Eren's goal to end the cycle failed. But again, the important thing to note is the scenery. This time showcases war has finally broken out once again. Even with Generation of Peace, humans will find a way to dispute, fight and go to war. We can see buildings being bombarded with planes as Paradise has their own rockets they use to defend their nation. However, after another time skip, we come to find nothing but rubbles. Either Paradise was blown into nothingness or the whole world was set back to an old age due to the constant war. Now, from the looks of the broken rubbles along with the hole in the tree, we can tell this time skip must have been many generations. The hole in this tree now is no longer a tiny passage but a literal entrance. Through the rubbles we then see a young child with their dog making their way to the tree, and this is where the story ends. Now obviously this is an open ending to indicate that nothing really changed. The world after peace went back to war. The cycle of the Titans will once again start. We weren't given much clues on what happened to the hallucigenia, so the possibility of Eren's head having some remnants of it is still there. His head being buried under a tree where it now has come back to look like the one Ymir fell into isn't a coincidence. Is Kodansha and Isayama trying to sequel bait us Attack on Titan Next Generation?
I'm not writing that.
Somebody's writing it.
Well, it's not gonna be me.
It's not gonna be me either.
Well, who is it?
If you don't write it, I'm gonna give you a trash spinoff.
Well, I'm not writing it.
hate that we always gotta do this.
Get him! What are you?
Nah.
Bring the
What
what
is
is
this?
What is
You.
this?
Hey, get started on the spin-off.
No! Don't take my show! Don't take my show!
Hand right here, boy. You done played
No,
too
don't take
much.
my show. What about
You
the
done played
fans?
too damn much
What about the
today.
fans?
What about the fans? Did Boruto give a fuck about the fans? What about Super? Did they give a fuck about the fans? All I'm worried about
What are you
is
talking
here,
about?
this paper. That's all I want. That's all I want. That's Sonic.
This child even looks similar to Mikasa. It's possible the kid is her descendant and heard the story of Eren through her family like it was a myth of legend. So the kid went on a journey to visit Eren's grave. This child will then end up being hooked up with a hallucigenia and become the new founding Titan, and once again making a drastic change to this broken world. All in all, Isayama seemed like he was forced to make such an ending. Attack on Titan didn't really have a true conclusion. Nothing was answered either. The origins of the Titan's power and the hallucigenia were merely suggested by Zeke to be an offset of evolution. And now, even with Eren, we learned that he didn't really achieve any long-term goals. He failed to save Paradise, he failed at world peace, he failed to end the cycle of hatred, he failed to make the Titans disappear since this child will enter the same tree that Ymir did, he failed the theme of the fathers being surpassed by the next generation, avoiding the previous mistakes. Eren is such a failure, he couldn't even get Mikasa!
Fuck this shit! We came in this fucking room and everything went fucking bad. Fuck this shit, man.
Alright, seriously guys, on the level I still love Eren's character, it's just the way things ended. It just could have been a bit more, you know, just a bit more je ne sais quoi. Obviously when you bring things into perspective, can't really achieve long-term goals like forever peace. It ain't heaven, it's the world. People will end up fighting each other again. And now we have a potential for a sequel. So what happened? We definitely believe the truth will be revealed by the author himself soon. He won't be able to bottle up his feelings for so long. But so far what we can go by is in the leaked final school course chapter. Isayama addressed some of these concerns where it illustrates a version of Eren, Mikasa and Armin watching a movie and then discussing the ending afterwards, just like us fans would with Attack on Titan. And with this classroom interaction, Isayama indirectly addressed the community's view to the final ending. Through his characters, Isayama lets us know that he wanted to make the story open-ended, so it leaves room for the audience imagination. However, as he pointed out through Armin, nothing was really addressed, hence why some of us feel very unsatisfied and have a lot of questions.
So I am Confucian.
Isayama, as mentioned in an interview, clearly knows our opinions about the ending and understands how we feel. This is his way of showing it. In the very end, we have thrown a sequel bait even within the school cost chapter as Eren gives his 2 cents about the ending of the movie they just watched. And again, that is the representation of the Attack on Titan ending. Eren tells the gang that no matter what the ending was, the experience of watching it with his friends is what made him happy. And if there was a sequel, then let's watch it together. It seems as though the end message given to us by Isayama is that, listen, shut your mouth, enjoy the experience and wait for a sequel. No! Alright guys, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you guys think about these extra 8 pages and the potential for a sequel. Are you guys happy with that? Were you happy before these 8 pages? I know the Attack on Titan chapter 139, just as it was, really did leave us unsatisfied. Alright guys, don't forget to smash that like button, ding the notification bell, subscribe. Till then, we'll catch you lot next time.